Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're taking a look into the pretty wild world of cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
We've gathered a bunch of recent articles, analyses, all from May 2025. And our goal is pretty straightforward, really. We want to pull out the key insights, help you make sense of what's happening in this really fast-moving space.
Right.
We're going to focus particularly on meme coins, some bigger market trends, and maybe where things might be heading.
Exactly. We've been digging into, well, everything from that Trump rump crypto story, which is quite the roller coaster.
Oh, yeah.
To, broader trends hitting the big names like Ethereum, Dogecoin, Binance Coin.
Okay.
And we've also looked at some operational stuff, challenges for Soluna, and a whole range of predictions and technical charts, especially for Trump.
Right. And we'll touch on the regulatory side, too, like the Genius Act.
Yeah, definitely. That and what the big institutional players are doing, it's all part of the mix.
Okay. And for you, the learner, our aim here is to cut through all the noise, the complexity. We want to give you a clear, sort of structured handle on these developments. Highlight the surprising bits, maybe, without making your head spin.
Yeah, avoid the information overload.
Exactly. Okay, so let's get into it. Starting with Trump Rump. That's a coin that's certainly grabbed a lot of attention. Unique connection to a political figure, right?
Oh, it's quite a story. Launched back January 17th, 2025. Started out, I think, around $7, maybe $8.
Uh-huh.
Then this just incredible surge. It hit over $75 really fast.
Wow. What drove that?
Seems like a lot of online promotion,
Yeah.
hype. And there was this pretty unusual contest, too.
A contest?
Yeah, offering access, like FaceTime with former President Trump for the top holders.
Ah, okay.
Now, as of May 20th, 2025, it's trading back down around $13.
Right. So that really speaks to the volatility you mentioned.
Absolutely. Huge swings.
And this is where it gets kind of complicated, isn't it? Because it's not just price charts. There's this whole political and ethical dimension.
Definitely. You've got Senator Elizabeth Warren, for example. She's been pretty vocal, criticizing the Genius Act.
That's the stablecoin regulation bill.
Exactly. Her argument basically is that it could end up indirectly helping Trump's crypto ventures. That includes Trump, but also another one, a stablecoin called USD1.
Okay, just quickly, a stablecoin that's the one meant to stay pegged to something like the dollar, right? Keep its value steady.
That's the idea, yeah.
Yeah.
Designed to maintain a stable value. So Senator Warren's worry is if the Genius Act strengthens the whole stablecoin market, it might also boost the value or usefulness of Trump's crypto assets.
Got it. And beyond the act itself, what about the access thing, the dinners?
Right, that's another layer. Offering exclusive events, these private dinners with the former president, just for the biggest Trump investors. Well, it raises some eyebrows.
Yeah, I hate to see why.
It starts to blur that line, between investing money and getting political access. Could potentially run into questions about federal ethics rules. Is access being sort of monetized?
And it's not just happening domestically, right? There's international money involved, too.
Yeah, there are reports mentioning significant foreign investment flowing into the Trump family's crypto stuff. One article talked about a $2 billion stablecoin investment.
$2 billion.
Yeah, though the specifics weren't really detailed. But it adds another whole dimension, thinking about regulation and ethics when international money is involved like that.
Okay. So the price itself, you said it's around $13 now, after hitting $75. What's been happening more recently?
Well, it's just been incredibly volatile since day one, really. Around mid-May, May 14th, one report had it at $13.62. And it had jumped 22% in just a week before that.
Okay, driven by?
Mostly hype, speculation. That's what the article suggested. And it made a point of saying, this isn't backed by any real assets.
Right, which is key for these meme coins.
Exactly. Its value is really about what people think, what the online buzz is. Very typical meme coin behavior. They often start from internet jokes or trends, and the price just swings based on social media and community feeling.
And everyone's got their eye on this dinner, the May 22nd one, for top Trumpy holders.
Yeah, that's seen as a big potential catalyst. Could move the price for Trump, maybe even ripple out to others like XRP and SUI.
But that dinner's also controversial.
It is. Some senators, Murphy included, have raised concerns that the guest list seems to be mainly foreign investors, not so much American crypto folks.
Interesting. Which again brings up questions about who's investing and why in that foreign influence angle.
Precisely. Now, if you look at price predictions, oh boy, it's all over the map. CoinCodex, looking at May 20th data, they're pretty bullish. They're talking $45 by mid-June 2025.
$45 from $13.
Yeah, and suggesting potential returns over 355% by late June. Longer term, they even see it possibly hitting like $86.96 by 2029.
Wow. Okay, that's one view. What else?
Then you've got Coinpedia. Their data is from around May 13th. They had the price near $14.21 then.
Right.
They see potential highs around maybe $27.92 this year, 2025. Yep. But get this, by 2030, they're projecting $212.25.
200, that's ambitious.
Very. And they also note that initial crazy spike to $49 on Coinbase before it crashed back to $7.
Yeah.
Just a reminder of the volatility.
Okay. Any other takes?
Binance Square, also looking at May 2025, reported the price was trading between $10 and $12 at the time. And they gathered forecasts from various analysts for the end of 2025, ranging anywhere from $35 up to $100.
So basically, huge disagreement, lots of speculation.
Totally. Really highlights how uncertain it all is.
So forget predictions for a second. What about the charts, the technical analysis? Are they saying anything clearer?
Well, clearers might be optimistic, but yes, there's technical analysis.
Yeah.
As of May 20th, FX Empire noted a pattern called a descending triangle on the daily chart for Trump against USDT.
Descending triangle.
Yeah.
That sounds bearish. Downward?
Often, yeah. It suggests a potential move down, risk of dropping to around $9.08 if it breaks below the support level at $12.35. But if you zoom in to the shorter term, like the 4-hour chart from late April to May 21st, there's actually a signal for potential short-term upward movement, something called a moving average crossover.
Ah, okay. A mixed picture then.
Pretty much. Resistance, like a price ceiling, is seen around $14.50 to $15. If it breaks above $15 and there's a lot of trading volume, that could be seen as bullish.
Gotcha. But there are other concerns too, right? Not just price patterns, like who actually owns most of this coin?
Absolutely crucial point. Reports from BitTrue suggest a major centralization issue.
Meaning
about 80% of the total Trump P supply is held by just two entities.
80%. Wow.
Yeah, both apparently linked to Trump, CIC Digital LLC, and Fight LLC.
Okay. And why is that a concern?
Well, when so few wallets hold so much of a coin, it raises big questions about market manipulation. These large holders, they call them whales in crypto.
Right.
They have the power to potentially swing the price dramatically if they buy or sell large amounts.
And have these whales been active?
Yes. BitTrue also reported significant selling pressure from whales recently. Over $6.4 million worth of Trump sold off.
Okay, so that could explain some downward pressure on the price.
Definitely can contribute. Adds to the volatility.
And Trump himself, what's his official stance on the coin? Does he acknowledge it? Profit from it?
According to that same BitTrue source, Trump insists he doesn't personally profit from Trump.
Okay.
However, other reports suggest it actually makes up a pretty significant chunk of his net worth.
Huh. So conflicting reports there too. Adds another layer of intrigue.
It certainly does.
Okay, so Trump P sounds like a super unpredictable ride, driven by hype, politics, maybe whale activity, and very concentrated ownership. Let's maybe shift gears a bit. Look at the wider crypto market. What are we seeing with some of the bigger, more established coins? Ethereum, for instance.
Right, Ethereum. As of May 20th, trading around $2,483, showing just a modest uptick in 24 hours. It did have a bigger jump earlier, about 7%, getting above $2,500. Analysts seem to think that was down to just positive market mood generally, plus growing institutional interest.
Okay. Where's it at now, technically?
It's hitting some resistance, a bit of a ceiling, near $2,600. So we might see the price kind of stabilize, consolidate there for a bit.
And you mentioned institutional interest. That seems like a recurring theme. Big money getting involved.
Really does seem to be a factor. You see concrete examples like BTCS Inc. Buying up a good chunk of Ethereum, 3,450 ETH.
Right.
And money flowing into ETH-based ETFs, those exchange-traded funds. It suggests that the bigger players are getting more comfortable.
Any positive signs on the charts for ETH?
Yeah, technically there's something called a golden cross that formed.
Golden cross. Sounds good.
Yeah, some traders see it as a bullish signal, potential for an upward trend. So analysts are now looking towards $3,000 as the next major resistance level to watch.
Okay. Any other catalysts for Ethereum?
There's an upcoming network upgrade called Pectra. That's also being talked about as something that could potentially give the price a boost.
Got it. Okay, moving on. Dogecoin, DOGE, the original meme coin, still around, still making noise.
Still around. As of May 20th, trading about 0.220 yet thousandths, down slightly over the last day. It's running into resistance near 0.2032 till.
technicals right now look kind of neutral, maybe leaning a bit bearish, negative.
How so?
Well, momentum seems to be weakening. The RSI, that relative strength index we mentioned,
Right.
it's around 37.88. Lower numbers suggest weaker upward push. And there's also a bearish MACD crossover signal, another indicator some traders watch for potential downward trends.
The Doge still has its dedicated following, right?
Yeah.
And those whales.
Oh, yeah. There was a report of a big whale sale, 170 million DOGE moved.
Wow. Did that crash the price?
Interestingly, no, not really. The price impact was apparently limited. Some analysts are saying that shows the retail investors, the smaller guys, are still pretty committed and resilient in the Doge market.
Interesting. Any other Doge news? Yeah, kind of unrelated, but a UK company, ZA Miner, launched a free cloud mining platform for Dogecoin and Bitcoin, trying to make mining more accessible, I guess.
Okay. Let's turn to Binance Coin. BNB, how's that looking?
BNB, May 20th, trading around $645.11, also down just slightly in 24 hours. It seems to be consolidating, kind of trading sideways near its early May high, which was around $662.53.
Consolidation, that can sometimes precede a move up, right?
It can, yeah. Potential for upward movement if it can break through the resistance at 678 times. But there's a note of caution. It's near what traders call overbought levels, meaning the price might have gone up too fast, could be due for a pullback, and the $656 level is seen as important support underneath.
What are the analysts predicting for BNB, short-term, long-term?
Okay, so for May 2025, predictions are roughly $650 to $700 range. Average maybe $640.79.
Right.
Looking out to the end of 2025, projections get much higher. Max maybe $1,292, average around $926.
And longer term?
Really long term, like 2030. Some forecasts go up to $2,749. Big numbers obviously assumes continued growth and adoption.
And is the Binance ecosystem itself growing?
Seems like it. Their Binance wallet, reports say, was onboarding over 4.3 million new accounts weekly around May 2025. That's pretty significant user growth.
Definitely. Okay, next up, XRP. Always a topic of discussion. How's it doing?
XRP, as of May 20th, around $2.53. It's shown a pretty strong recovery from lows earlier in the year.
Good news for holders. What's the general sentiment?
Generally pretty optimistic, actually. You have analysts like Standard Chartered projecting maybe $5.50 by the end of 2025.
What's driving that optimism?
Mostly hopes for better regulatory clarity, finally, and increased adoption by institutions. The technical charts also seem to support a bullish feeling, with the price holding above the $2 support level.
And the ETF talk, that's always been big for XRP. Any movement?
Well, the launch of XRP futures contracts on the CME, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, that saw decent volume, like $15 million daily. That's definitely boosted hopes for an eventual spot ETF approval, which would be huge for accessibility.
Right, and the Genius Act we talked about, that's seen as good for XRP too.
Yeah, generally, progress on crypto regulation like that is seen as positive for established players like XRP. Plus, the XRP ecosystem itself is growing. Projects like XP Finance, Nominode adding more utility.
Okay, but any downsides or warnings?
Well, some analysts point to a death cross pattern on the charts, opposite of the golden cross, seen as potentially bearish. And there were reports, like from FX Empire, mentioning the SEC is still delaying reviews on crypto ETFs. So it's not all smooth sailing. Regulatory hurdles remain.
Understood. Okay, let's touch briefly on Soluna 7LNH. That's a bit different, involved in crypto mining, but also AI data centers.
Yeah, their stock, SLNH, trading around D81 cents as of May 20th. Q1 2025 revenue was $5.9 million, which was actually a decline. And they had an adjusted EBITDA loss of $1.6 million. But that loss was smaller than the previous quarter, Q4 2024. So some improvement there.
Are they working on new projects?
They are. Mentioned Dorothy 2, a 48 mW project, a partnership with Blockware for new miners, and expanding another project called Sophie, plus trying to simplify their capital structure.
What's the outlook for the stock price?
Analysts forecast just a modest short-term increase, maybe hitting $0.83 by the end of 2025. So facing challenges, but making strategic moves.
Okay. And we saw some other altcoins making moves too, AAVE and WCT.
Right. AAVE, it gained over 8% in the 24 hours leading up to May 20th. It's testing some major resistance levels, $260 to $292.
Is that good or bad?
Well, it bounced off long-term support and got back above its 50-week EMA, which is positive. The RSI suggests maybe more room to go up, but also risk of a pullback from these high levels.
And WCT, Wallet Connect.
Yeah, WCT rose even more, 16.5%, hit a record high of 77 cents.
Wow.
But caution here too. There's a potential bearish divergence forming with its RSI. That can sometimes signal a pullback is coming. Might retest support levels.
Okay. So lots of movement across the board. Let's circle back finally to the regulatory side. We mentioned Senator Warren, the Genius Act. Can you give us a bit more on what that act actually does?
Sure. The Genius Act, Guiding and Establishing National Innovation for U.S. Stablecoins Act. It's basically aiming to be the first big, comprehensive legal framework for stablecoins in the U.S.
Okay. And it passed the Senate.
Yeah, bipartisan support. Passed 66 to 32 on May 19th.
What are the main things it tries to do?
Key objectives are things like requiring stablecoin issuers to back their coins 100% with U.S. dollars or short-term government bonds.
Right. Safe assets.
Exactly. Mandating monthly reports on those reserves, plus annual reporting. Setting up clear rules for how new companies get licensed to issue stablecoins. Importantly, it prohibits advertising that falsely claims stablecoins are government-backed or FDIC insured.
Good clarification.
And requires them to comply with anti-money laundering and anti-terrorism financing laws.
Okay. And Senator Warren's criticism was that this might end up favoring the big players.
Yeah, essentially. Her concern, as we discussed, is that it could disproportionately help the established larger stablecoin operations, potentially including Trump's USD1, giving them or him a financial edge.
Got it. Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. A lot to cover today in our deep dive. We've definitely seen the wild ride of Trump rump crypto, deeply tied into politics, ethics.
Yeah, a real case study there.
In a broader market, it's a real mixed bag, isn't it? Ethereum showing strength, institutional interest growing. Dogecoin maybe looking a bit bearish on the charts, but still has that strong retail base.
Right.
Binance coin sort of consolidating, maybe waiting for its next move. XRP recovering, lots of regulatory hope there.
Yeah, cautious optimism, maybe.
While Soluna navigates some business challenges.
Yeah.
And all this against the backdrop of evolving regulation like the Genius Act.
That summed it up pretty well. One detail that really sticks out for me, though, is just that image of a private dinner with a former president being offered for crypto investment. It really highlights this strange, unique intersection of politics and digital assets we're seeing.
It absolutely does. And for you, the learner, hopefully understanding these different forces, the hype, the technicals, the politics, gives you some useful context for making sense of the crypto market.
Right.
Whether you're prepping for a meeting, just trying to catch up, or even just curious. Recognizing the volatility, knowing what's driving things, that's key to not feeling, totally lost.
Exactly. Stay informed without getting overwhelmed.
So maybe a final thought to leave you with.
Okay.
With politics and finance getting so tangled up in crypto, especially with these celebrity or politically linked coins, how might regulations need to change in the future? How do you address the unique risks? Market manipulation, ethical issues that come specifically from these kinds of digital assets?
That's a really good question. Definitely something to keep an eye on and think about as this whole space keeps evolving.